to infinity and beyond.
This is me. This is how I win.
Were you rushing or were you dragging? Answer!
You're a wizard, Harry.
Say what again? Say what again? I dare you.
No, I am your father.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
And here we go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back inside the film room. Zach Goins here with Johnny Sobchak. Johnny, welcome back to another episode. How are you?
I'm doing well, Zach. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. We've got a big episode, a big post-Oscars episode coming at you one day later so that we can really digest everything that went down last night. So obviously that's going to be a hot topic that we're going to close the episode with. But before that, we have a lot on tap as well. Falcon and the Winter Soldier finale. Got to go through that. Give it a final episode breakdown and overall series. How did we feel about it? We'll dive into that. And Mortal Kombat is the review this week. And as always, we've got some exciting news to go through. So it's going to be a big one, Johnny.
I'm ready. I'm prepared.
What's been going on in the world of Johnny Sobchak this week beyond watching Mortal Kombat and the Oscars?
Yeah, and Falcon Winter Soldier. I will say the one main thing that I have been getting caught up on, I guess, is like Invincible over on Amazon Prime Video, which is the new animated adaptation of the comic series from Robert Kirkman, which is this author of and creator of The Walking Dead as well. And I never really got into The Walking Dead. This is obviously a very different kind of show, but still, though it is animated, and I'm sure everyone probably already knows this, it is not kid friendly. It's very extremely violent, extremely mature, and I dig it. It's different. And I think in a ecosystem filled with comic book adaptations and superhero shows and things like that, it stands out as its own thing, and it's kept me interested. And I am almost complete. I have one episode I think to finish, and then I'll be ready for, I believe it's a season finale this week. This is going to be the last episode of season 1.
I have been slacking on that because I got those screeners like the first couple episodes like a month before it came out. Never watched it, and then like I still get like a weekly screener earlier in the week. But I had been slacking and hadn't watched that. However, I have been tearing through another adult animated comic book show, which is the Harley Quinn series on HBO Max.
Sure.
I know you've watched it previously.
I've seen a good amount of it. Yeah, I haven't caught up or finished all of it, but I need to.
It's so good. I had heard people talk about it and say that it was really good, and so I figured I'd throw it on probably like end of last week, and just have gone through it. The first season was 13 episodes. I'm halfway through the second season, which is all they've done so far, but it's so funny, and like like Margot Robbie is perfect as Harley Quinn in live action, but like this iteration, Kaylee Cuoco from Big Bang Theory is the voice of her here, but just like obviously the comics lend themselves because that's where the origin is. It's much more like realistic to the character, I guess, than what you can do on screen.
Fair.
And so it's really fun. And also, as I've referenced for literally anyone who's ever listened, I always defer to either you or Jake when it comes to like lore and backstory about like comic characters and stuff. So I feel like
they pack a lot into that show.
Right. I feel like I'm getting a bit more of a understanding of just different characters in general. Like I know obviously King Shark is going to be in Suicide Squad, and he's like a major character in the animated series. Obviously very different since this one is like intellectual versus hand.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
But just like getting to kind of explore the world out of just like the mainstream TV or mainstream big screen movies. So I've been going through that at a quick pace this week, and then also checked out the Mitchells versus the Machines, which will be, I don't want to give up too much about that because it's not out yet, and that's our big review next week on Netflix. So I will say two thumbs up. My review is on the site if you want to get an early head start on it. But
2 thumbs.
That was just a phrase. I was just
then.
using that as a phrase. It's not like a 5-star perfect movie, but I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Walking it back now, I see.
It was just a common expression, Johnny. But that was good and a lot of fun, very creative. Talking about animation, that's like a very creative, like not your typical Pixar or just like cartoon animation. So
yeah,
that's from Lord and Miller and Sony Pictures, who did the Into the Spider-Verse, obviously. So sort of different elements of that there. And then I also watched Stowaway on Netflix, which came out last week. And you know what? Not a fan of that one. I was shocked. I don't know. Have you even heard of this? It's like the space movie with Toni Collette and Anna Kendrick. Have you checked it out?
I mean, I've heard the basic things about it, but I have not even seen a second of footage.
Yeah, I had gotten a screener for it from them, so I figured I'd check it out, and did not end up writing it up for the site. So this is my review right here. But
oh, good.
But
breaking news.
I was shocked when I checked that 75% on the tomato meter from critics, 60% audience score. And I just did not necessarily care for this much at all, because my Letterboxd review here, we'll pull that up, and that's my official review, I guess. But to me, this was very much a generic, like run-of-the-mill sci-fi outer space movie.
Right.
So
yeah.
I got a little creative with my Letterboxd review, and I made it a Mad Libs. So it was space movie Mad Libs. Astronauts are headed to Mars, but on the way they run out of oxygen. However, the captain won't agree to sacrifice the mission. Like, that's literally the most basic outer space movie I've ever heard of.
Yeah,
I don't know about you. I know you're huge into the sci-fi world, but literally there wasn't this. I feel like I'm being too harsh. This was not like a horrible movie. I wasn't like dreading every moment that I watched it by any means, but it was just like nothing new, nothing noteworthy added to the genre, or to like these movies have been done and done so much better.
Right.
That, I mean, beyond like a couple cool shots in space, a couple, like the score was pretty enjoyable, but it's not like, I'm not crazy about Anna Kendrick in general, so the Toni Collette was kind of wasted, so it just didn't really come together to be much. Daniel Day Kim in that as well, my guy Jin from Lost.
Sounds like a typical Netflix release there, Zach.
Yeah, like I said, very surprised to see those as positive reviews as it ended up with. But I guess they were probably just like, okay, we just did the Midnight Sky. We've still got like the space set up. Let's go ahead and pump out another one while we're here.
Guys, quick! But who can we call to show up on set?
Exactly. So apparently people are recommending it. I would not recommend it, but Stowaway is there on Netflix if you need it. But that's my TV and movie week this week. It's been good.
That does sound good. Sounds pretty productive.
The biggest TV though.
I have to pass on that.
Yeah, I don't think you would enjoy it too much. But the biggest TV, as we mentioned, that we have both been watching.
Oh,
let's get into it. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the finale, episode 6. One world, one people. Your generic plot synopsis of the week says, as the Flag Smashers escalate their efforts, Sam and Bucky take action. Yes, they do.
Oh, man. Do they ever?
Johnny, I need to know. We haven't talked about it too much, honestly, because I watched it the evening of. Friday. So neither of us with this show were like 9 a.m. or 3 a.m. watchers, I don't believe.
Couldn't afford.
But I watched it Friday night. I don't even think you got around to it until like Saturday night or Sunday.
Yeah,
but
I was slow getting onto it, unfortunately.
First off, before we get into the specifics of the episode, just general thoughts on it. How did it live up to or not live up to the hype? This specific episode, we'll hit the series as a whole at the end of our little discussion here, but I've obviously everyone's a little hesitant following WandaVision and some potential letdown there. Did you go into this with high hopes? I know you hadn't been as high on this series in general as I have, but walk me through it.
So for this episode specifically, I saw that this was like by far the worst reviewed episode of the series. And I can see why that is, because I feel like compared to the other episodes that have come before this one, it does feel a little almost like, I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, again, I have not been a fan of this series that much. Like I quite liked the first episode, and then I really enjoyed probably the second most episode, the previous one, so episode 5. So apart from those two, it's been very low on my end, and I think that this was pretty much more of the same, but not even by like, it wasn't worse to me necessarily. So I kind of like, I get it, but I also don't really understand why it was kind of perceived that way. I do recognize that they did have a lot to cover and really smash into this last, less than an hour of television, which really didn't do them any favors. I think the pacing on this show in particular, that was something I mentioned and something I wasn't a fan of already, but I think that really showed itself even more in this episode, because it did not give the proper amount of attention or time, I think, to certain scenes, certain subplots, and their resolutions.
Yes, there was a ton to fit into this episode. I mean, we had a ton of questions last week when we were coming into, how are they going to wrap it up? What's going to be resolved? What's going to extend further into the universe and be wrapped up later? But there was again, similar to like last week, how I said that it felt like two different episodes. I feel like this one felt that way as well, that like the first 30 minutes was kind of like the action packed, like
I could see that,
solve the issue, the resolution of everything, and then wrap up loose ends in the final 30 minutes and have it a little more low key.
No,
but I was that's low key is later.
Right.
But I thought that it was like, for the most part, fitting a good ending. It did. My biggest thing was that this, obviously the show, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it did a good job of tying up both of their stories. Like, yes, there were a ton of loose ends still that are going to need to be addressed at a later date, which, I mean, you can't be too upset about that, considering that it is Marvel and that, like, yes, this is its own standalone series, but it's also part of the bigger universe. So like, they're surely going to circle back to something from this later on.
Speaking of circling back to this later on, there's something that we need to discuss, I guess. Looking into the future of these characters afterward, there was some big news that came out. I think it was Friday, the day that this premiered, but we'll talk more about that towards the end, I suppose.
Man, you're a teaser, getting the people hyped up. They've got to keep tuning in. But yeah, I mean, I thought that, I didn't even know until I pulled it up now that you mentioned it, but I didn't realize that this was such a, not necessarily poorly reviewed, but 64% on Rotten Tomatoes for the final episode. So
it's turned a little bit. It's got a little bit better since I saw it.
Yeah, episode 5 was 100%. Episode 4 was 90%. So
that's absurd. Yeah, go ahead.
but like, again, I thought that it did a succinct job of like tying up everything that we needed to know from this show. Like, Falcon had his big moment as Captain America. It set the stage for him moving forward and let him be a badass, let him drop some knowledge and inform people about like being woke, basically. And then
man.
like we got the Bucky resolution about the only thing we didn't get to see Bucky be like all out Winter Soldier. Like I kind of expected or hoped that there would be like, now that he has mastered like his self-control, he would be able to like channel that ability, but to have control over it, you know, versus like he's kind of like a limited version. It's not like he is the Winter Soldier anymore. He's just like super strong Bucky. But so like we got to see like him come full circle with the whole crossing off the list, getting his closure, and then them two being buddy and not rivals anymore or anything. So that to me, for it being the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it handled both of their stories well and wrapped it up, but also set it up for what's next.
Right on. Okay, so I guess the biggest thing of this episode, which everyone's been talking about and has gotten the most attention by far, is that Falcon is Captain America now. He's not Falcon anymore. So Sam Wilson's taken over the mantle, taken over the shield. He's got his brand new uniform that the Wakandans, I guess, mocked up for him. New wings, new color scheme, all that good stuff. Star on the chest. What do you think of that? How they revealed it, what it looked like in action, all that good stuff.
Well, obviously we knew it was coming because of the whole tease at the end of the last episode.
Yeah, it was definitely.
And I had the unfortunate opportunity, I don't even know what word is I'm trying to reach for, but I was presented a toy version of Falcon in his suit. Someone sent me unsolicited photos of him, of the action figure. I know, come on, you have to ask for those. But I got a picture of like the toy, the action figure for Falcon in his new Captain America suit, so like I knew what it was going to look like, which I was a little bummed that I saw that. But I think that I liked the way that it was. He's still Falcon, but he is Captain America. Now it's not like, okay, you have to stop being who you are. Here's the outfit. Here's the shield. That's it. But it's like incorporating the wings and his goggles and everything that he still was, but just adding more to it. So that worked really well for me. I was pleased with that. And that also helps set him apart, as obviously he is very different from Chris Evans and Steve Rogers. But like this makes it even more that he's not just trying to be Steve, but he's his own version of Captain America, which is very much the issue that John Walker ran into, of trying to be Steve versus being his own Cap.
That's a really good point, actually, and that's something I say that was a really good point because I literally had not thought of John Walker a single second since this episode ended. And so like the good point there is that, what did you think about John Walker, where they leave his, not only where they leave his character at, but I guess where they leave him at, but also how he basically got,
I not
shafted by this show. Like it was like he was an integral key.
He was the Night King who went out in episode 3 and then didn't get it to come back. He got a little bit more love than the Night King in the finale, but
I mean, I get. Yeah, I mean, he was there and he was active, but it was like
his story was not.
His story, it didn't make me feel anything. It didn't necessarily like. I think sense.
The biggest thing with that was that it was just like, so obviously for those who are listening and choose to listen without watching the show, the whole idea was that this disgraced John Walker as Captain America got his title stripped from him, and after murdering someone, and now he just comes back to try and murder another person, to try and kill Carly, and then ends up getting a bit of redemption as he has that big moment where it's basically looking left, looking right. Am I going to go after the kill, or am I going to go save these people? And it kind of almost works to like snap him back to his senses of like, this is who I am, what I'm here for. And so then that kind of disturbed me, though, how it was just like, okay, he did this, and then like Bucky and Sam both seem to be like, all right, that's good enough for me. Like we're all no beef here, no bad blood. So
yeah,
that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, of that it was just kind of brushed aside that he had done horrible things and was not. I guess people still don't know that he took the super soldier serum though, so like I guess that's kind of, I guess you can infer probably, but it hasn't been like explicitly revealed to others.
Right.
But
I guess not.
So maybe they would feel a little more negatively towards him if they knew that, because I guess we know more about his wrongdoing than the characters do.
I mean, it's world. I mean, what more wrongdoing do you need to hear or know? I mean, they had the footage. Everyone was recording him murder that guy. Like everyone knows he murdered someone. So I feel like what else can we add on top of that other than, oh yeah, he took the serum, but like,
right? But I mean, like moving forward, like obviously the murder that's horrible. Don't get me wrong, but like
respect.
I guess in their eyes, that's the tagline of the episode: murder horrible. Don't get me wrong. But like in their eyes, that was like a singular item and it's in the past, versus like we know that he is continuing to be a threat moving forward because he has taken the serum, versus them who may see him sort of like, okay, we put him back in his place. He's not a threat anymore. That's what I was trying to say.
I guess that's fair. But yeah, because the whole, it's funny because coming into the show, we knew he was going to be playing the character of U.S. agent, right? John Walker is this moniker he has, but I guess we didn't realize that he wasn't actually going to earn it or get that name until the very end, which is what happens with Val, the last scene that they can just share.
I didn't like how she kind of just seemed to pull that out of thin air.
She's like, hey, you're a U.S. agent, like in the comics that everyone knows you from.
Right, like the way that she was like, not a Captain America, but a U.S. agent.
Like that makes like that. What the fuck are you talking?
That felt very forced.
Like if I were John Walker, no, really though. If I had been John Walker in that scene, I'd have been like, what, lady, what the hell are you talking about? Honestly, like that doesn't make any sense. But hey, we'll ride with it. But
yeah, that kind of.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that kind of set the stage for that character moving forward with the she said things are going to get weird. Like, as we know, Eternals is coming. Multiple things in the MCU are going to get weird.
It's been weird, though. Let's be real.
But she's very much, we said it last week, she seems to be like an anti-Nick Fury, working somewhere in between indifferent to evil. Like I feel like she's kind of on a spectrum there. But not on the right side of it. She's like middle to bad.
She's neutral leaning bad.
But I feel like this is very much like, is it Dark Avengers? Is it the Thunderbolts?
I think it's It has to be Thunderbolts, right? Because they have Zemo kind of set up for that, and now they have U.S. Agent set up as well. We know, and there's been kind of some rumblings about Red Hulk, and we have the She-Hulk series coming out. There's also Tim Roth returning as Abomination potentially. So I mean, there's definitely some pieces in play that they could pull from for that, but I don't know. Is that something you would be looking forward to, or something you'd be interested in them doing with like these characters going forward, or what would you prefer to see, if anything? Or would you rather just not give a shit about John Walker ever again?
I mean, I think he has potential to be a good character. Like, I mean, I like Wyatt Russell for the most part. Like, he's been pretty good. I think that if we get to see him he was a very good villain, and like we liked hating him. At least I did. Mm-hmm. So I think there's potential there. I think that it's very much like, obviously in the Infinity Saga, it was like, okay, individual build up team movie. So like they're working towards multiple teams. So we already have the Eternals. We have potential like new Avengers or young Avengers. So this could just be another one of those, whether it's their own whole movie or world, or if it's just a antagonist for them to go up against. Thank you for that.
No, I mean, I hear you. I guess, okay. I mean, that makes sense. And I think that they definitely have a few different routes they could go. I don't really care necessarily at this point which way they go, because I guess for these characters in particular, I'm not I'm not passionate about them. Um, and also I think that these Marvel shows thus far, like, not entirely like doing it yet, but I would assume they're going to get better as they get more and more experience with it. So on top of that's where John Walker gets left at. We have some other closure with um uh Isaiah Bradley, I think, is like the main thing, because that's the final note that the episode ends on. And that's, of course, Sam, once he like goes public with the shield, with the mantle, and the whole Captain America name. Even during his little speech there at the end, when the cameras are on him, it cuts to Isaiah Bradley watching him, and Sam actually says some things that they basically sound like they're addressing Isaiah like directly, but he doesn't say that. Of course, it's more broad. And then at the very end, we get I thought it was a good moment. I mean, I really wish that they had done even more with Isaiah Bradley and more with this kind of subplot. Honestly, it could have been the main plot, and it could have been. This is something I mentioned previously talking about this show, but it could have been a Falcon show. It just could have been Sam Wilson and completely focused on him and domestic issues and things like that. But it does end on a good note with Sam goes to Isaiah Bradley. They have a little kind of discussion back and forth, and he's like, "Hey, man, come with me. I got to show you something." And he takes him to the exhibit, which has been there since episode 1, which is where Sam and Rhodey had their first conversation after Sam gave up the shield. And there is now a pretty big section with the statue and everything of Isaiah Bradley, discussing, how the U.S. government screwed him over, imprisoned him, tortured him, experimented on him, all that. So the truth is out there. Like, people are actually going to know his story and know what he did and what happened to him. So I thought that was for that character and for what they had been building up with that, I thought that was the right move. And it seemed like, again, we talked about this on that final conversation with Isaiah Bradley. I think last episode. And then in this one, we were like, okay, is that going to be it for him, or are we going to see him again or not? And they did bring him back. And now, once again, it seems like they're done. Seems like that could be the final note on it. Or maybe, this guy's a great actor. Maybe they do potentially bring Isaiah Bradley back.
I mean, that was one of the discussion, and then the museum scene was like probably the most powerful moment from this show.
Yeah.
The actor that plays Isaiah Bradley was better than anybody else in the show, except maybe Daniel Bruhl, honestly.
Yeah, but I mean, I 100% agree with that. I mean, I think Carl Lumbly, who plays Isaiah Bradley, he's an older actor, of course, and I'm not familiar with any of his other work because he has had a seemingly long career. But yeah, I'd certainly be down to see more of him if they come up with something worthwhile.
I feel like it would be more likely, though, that is it the grandson or nephew? What is the relationship? I can't remember.
Yeah, I want to say it's grandson.
That maybe that could be, I feel like it's a 50-50 shot that either he is or Sam's buddy from the military takes up as the new Falcon.
The new Falcon. Yeah, that's something that crossed my mind as well. But yeah,
the biggest thing we haven't talked about yet, which I guess will be the last thing, the whole power broker reveal.
It's complete horseshit, Zach.
I want to talk about this because it was hinted at previously that Sharon Carter is the power broker, could be the power broker. Revealed concretely here that she is during her standoff with Carly after the GRC convention or vote, whatever that was. But
yeah,
it is revealed that Sharon was working with Carly, but Carly was her muscle basically, but then broke away to pursue her own one world, one people, flag smashers agenda, because Sharon wants to rule and have power, but Carly wants to change the world versus rule it. And as they have this standoff, and before Sam gets there, they just kind of have their disagreement, and Sharon gets shot, but shoots and kills Carly. before it is revealed, the final words from Carly to Sam are "I'm sorry," not "she's the power broker." But I want to talk about this reveal because there are a lot of things here that don't necessarily add up. Because first of all, I watched a video breakdown of this, and these were all good points from Ken Jack at Lights Camera Pod. I sent it in the group chat. That was just a snippet of it, but I
didn't get a chance to watch it. But
there was a full video. But so in Avengers Endgame, it's shown on the screens when they're monitoring who's snapped away in the blip that Sharon was gone. So she was gone from 2018 to 2023. And if she came back, how did she accumulate this power so quickly?
Right.
Because her pardon, or she went off the grid in 2016 after Civil War. So it's either she was gained this power and then disappeared and then came back and just stepped right in, or she stepped right in quickly after the blip and like took advantage of the chaos, I guess, to become the power broker. And Zemo had said previously that he knows who the power broker is when they go to Madripoor, but he'd been locked up since 2016, since Civil War. So I don't know how unless it's just like a title that somebody takes over, like, but he seemed to act like he knew who the power broker was, not just like the power broker, like he seemed to know who it was. And the final thing, which is what the video I sent in the group chat was talking about, if she's the power broker and at the end in the post-credit scene she gets her pardon, she's back as Agent Carter, and she's like, oh, I'm sad there's no more super soldier serum, but we have information now because I'm on the inside. But if you're really sad there was no super soldier serum, why did you lead Bucky and Sam and Zemo to the creator of the super soldier serum and have Zemo, a known hater, kill this person? And also, why did you risk your life with like 20 assassins coming after them? Like, if these were your people and your investment here.
No, I mean, none of it makes sense. And I thought that Sharon's involvement in this entire show didn't make sense from that first time she showed up in Madripoor, because I was just like, on a basic level, like logistically, her involvement and her showing up to like rescue them, I thought was just complete nonsense. And then from that, it's basically snowballed into this whole power broker subplot, which, again, another subplot that never really went anywhere, never really got the attention that it really fully needed. And then in this last episode, they kind of haphazardly slapped it together with this reveal that, as you've, very thoroughly pointed out, doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But I guess they're just thinking we're not going to care, or we're not going to think about it very much, because that's what I assume is going to be going forward with her character. I mean, who knows what other shows she's going to show up in, what other films she's going to show in. Perhaps the that bit of news that we got on Friday as well that we're going to talk about in just one sec is going to be part of that or not. But I don't know. It doesn't seem... I just don't know enough about Sharon Carter from the comics. Agent 13. I don't know if this is what they do with her, where they turn her into like this almost like anti-hero, or like kind of like villain. Like, it seems like a very antagonistic character. I mean, and that was not at all what she was like in Civil War or the Winter Soldier.
Right.
I mean, of course, people turn and reveal things all the time, but for a relative of Peggy Carter, and for someone that Steve is like very close to, it does seem very like wrong. Like, it feels wrong, and it feels just like nonsensical. I don't know really what to think of it outside of that.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about it. I'm not crazy about her necessarily as an actress as well.
Right. Yeah, me neither.
Fairly stiff. I'm trying to find the name here on the Wikipedia.
I don't know. I haven't seen her in anything else, I don't think.
The fandom page was that. This is maybe a dumb question. I didn't watch it. I don't know if you did, but that show it was on ABC, the Agent Carter show. Was that about her? Was that about Sharon Carter, or was that Peggy? Okay,
it was Peggy.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see where that ends up. But
I guess. Okay. So. One more thing, because we'll talk about this in relation to the show, and then we'll kind of wrap up our final thoughts on the show real quick. But it does need to be said, the big piece of news we got related to this on Friday was that the next Captain America big feature film, Captain America 4, for lack of a better word, is going into the development with the showrunner behind the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So be writing it, kind of overseeing it. Not clear who will direct or who's going to star in it, apart from presumably Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson and as the new Captain America. Potentially Bucky will be in there. Potentially Sharon Carter, Zemo, John Walker. I mean, there's a lot of options. But what do you think of that news, and what would you like to see? What do you think they can kind of take from this or improve on? Or
I was honestly surprised. Like, I hadn't even thought about it necessarily. Obviously, they do at the end of the show here. They pull up the Falcon and the Winter Soldier title and then change it to Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
Right.
But I kind of figured that they'd like ease him into the film world. I know it's all like one interconnected world, but that it would be more of like, this is Captain America in this other movie. I mean, if they're just now announcing it, though, it's still a ways off. So we may see him on the big screen before an official Captain America 4. But I hadn't even like thought about like just continuing on the Captain America movies without like some sort of distinction, you know, like if there were to, like how they're doing Ironheart, the TV show, to like, I know she's not necessarily Iron Man, but like,
yeah, she's definitely.
If they would now that Tony Stark is dead, like if there was to be a new Iron Man and they would just continue it and it's Iron Man 4, like that would be weird to me. So I don't know. I hadn't even thought about this, but I'm excited that it is the case because I liked what I saw of Anthony Mackie and Sam Wilson's Falcon hybrid Captain America. So I'm with it.
Yeah. You know, as someone who's been, you know, very critical of the show and hasn't like been, you know, I haven't found it super enjoyable. I'm definitely skeptical of the showrunner being in charge of presumably the writing and story on that. But hey, I do like Sam Wilson as Captain America. I'm looking forward to seeing him more in that role. Anthony Mackie as an actor as well. But yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, we have no other details apart from that. So I think the one bit of news that we know for sure is that Steve Rogers, Chris Evans, Steve Rogers is not going to be showing up in this movie. So if he does come back, it's going to be in something else, it seems like. Yeah, let's, you know, hopefully it's something good, just something fresh, something new, specific to Sam Wilson, something that, you know, they haven't kind of done before. Because I think even if you like this show, a lot of it was covering old ground. Like it was just a lot of familiar stuff, the feel of the show, the look of the show. Yeah, it was dealing with the effects of the snap and the blip, which was different in that kind of Captain America-like space because we didn't have a Captain America film after Infinity War or Endgame, but it was, you know, Captain America's old villains and Captain America's old friends all showing back up in this show, and not a lot of compelling new characters apart from, I guess you could say, John Walker, but I think that is a little bit, you know, to be debated. But overall, what did you think? You know, final thoughts on it, the show as a series, 6 episodes, and for it being the second show from Marvel Studios, you know, how would you compare it to WandaVision? And what do you think moving on from this one to Loki and the others?
I obviously enjoyed this more than you did. I think that I thought it was a good show. I don't know. I kind of went in with more tempered expectations after WandaVision. So it wasn't like I was coming in expecting this to be like a Game of Thrones level show or something like that. But I enjoyed it well enough. I thought it was a good week to week. I looked forward to it. In regard to WandaVision, I would say I feel like this to me was more consistently good week in and week out. Like I really like bits, like episodes of WandaVision. Probably if I had to pick an individual episode of WandaVision versus an individual episode of this show, I would go WandaVision, but quality across the board, I think I liked this one more.
Yeah.
Because I had more lows with WandaVision than I did with this. Because with this, I was really just only mixed on the first episode.
Yeah, I really don't care about these shows. Like and this is coming from someone who's really rising as like a fan of the MCU, like someone who was interested. I just had that marathon like earlier in the year of all the films. And and I felt like more excited than ever to like get back into the movies and have those again. And I was really looking forward to having like consistent content through these shows. But yeah, they're definitely better at the movie side of things so far than they are on the TV side. I think that's like without a question. Even if you do
definitely,
like
this is, I feel like my biggest worry with this was like oversaturation, and I feel like it's headed that direction.
I'm feeling it, Mr. Krabs. Yeah, so it's what it is. I mean, Loki, fingers crossed. God, I hope that shows. It keeps me interested because this one, I think comparing them, it's hard to say because I feel like the disappointment and letdown that I felt at the end of WandaVision was worse than anything I felt during this because of those tempered expectations we had. But the highs and the week to week of WandaVision, I think were better than this one for sure. Because it,
right,
at least in that one, even if it was a failure of like a mystery box style plot, it's still like, I don't know, it's like a double-edged sword, and it's hard to even say if it was good or not. But it kept me interested, and I was looking forward to it, and we were speculating a lot. But yeah,
I think that Loki will end up being in the middle as far as like mood. Not quality, but like,
yeah, that makes sense.
WandaVision was quote unquote out there. This was more traditional. I feel like Loki's gonna try and like have that fantastical element, but also like the more like action packed element as well. So
yeah, I think the kind of the humor and like the absurdist kind of stuff we're seeing from that show in the trailers, I think is promising. So God, I really hope it's better than these two, because I just do not care. I'm like, I'm never gonna watch.
Well, we've only got 4 more this year, okay? So
I literally could. I know there's Loki. I know there's What If. I know
Hawkeye, Miss Marvel.
Hawkeye's this year, and Miss Marvel.
Hawkeye and Miss Marvel are both this year.
Oh man, all right.
Because we've got Loki's June 11th, and then What If is also this summer, and then Hawkeye, I believe, is fall, and Miss Marvel probably starts at the end of the year, as well as Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett. So we'll have Disney Plus going on all the time.
All right. Well, moving on to the news.
Let's news it up, but let's rearrange the Google Doc here, and we'll do all the Marvel together. So we'll kick off these new trailers that we got with Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, making me look like an idiot. Episode last week comes out on Monday, and then they dropped it, and I'm in there saying, does Shang-Chi even exist? We haven't seen anything from it. And then this trailer comes out, the poster comes out. Wow. Whatever, Marvel.
Your impression of yourself is really good, by the way.
I know you listen, Kevin Feige, and you did that just to spite me, but
yeah.
What were your thoughts here? You just talked about the look and feel of the MCU, and this is something that is very much not of that same look and feel, I would say.
Well, there are definitely parts of it.
In parts.
I mean, it's just a short, it's almost like a teaser, because you don't get a lot of, story per se.
The meat and potatoes.
You don't get a lot of dialogue. You don't get a lot of, drawn out. It's very quick cut. Getting you through a bunch of different scenes. There are some very striking, scenes. Bill Pope shot this, who's one of my favorite cinematographers. He's done some Edgar Wright films. And he did The Matrix. So on the action side of things, with the colors in some scenes, it looks great. There's one scene that's very much like a wuxia inspired, like on wires kind of like flying through the air, bamboo and all that, which looks very, very like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Looks pretty neat. We'll see how good it looks, like the final product, because again, it was a very quick cut. There's also like a Skyfall kind of inspired, or at least similar scene up in like a skyscraper, and it's like backlit with like a neon kind of like pink, and which looks very cool. But then there's some stuff that looks like it's straight out of an Ant-Man movie, where it just looks
I got very heavy Black Panther vibes from the first half of the trailer.
I could see that,
because of the fact that, like, I don't know if it was like the versus like a traditional Marvel score, this had like the hip hop undertone and like
it did, yeah.
And so like, and that hit at basically the same time that like I don't remember if it was a Mercedes Benz or like a BMW, but that flashy red car pulled up and they had like the low look. And I was like, very much like Chadwick, Black Panther when they went to go see Claw and they're like all in the Lexus or whatever those were, the Audis. Like it was very similar to that feel.
Agreed.
So I know I had said that this feels different than the MCU, but Black Panther also felt different from the MCU for the most part at that time. Right. So I guess this is like, it feels like the MCU, but not the main MCU. So the side MCU. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know which city Shang-Chi is supposed to be living in when this kind of starts, or where him and Aquafina are. I don't know if that's like public knowledge yet or not, if that's supposed to be like in the United States or if it's somewhere in China or somewhere else in Asia. But then it goes from that kind of setting to the more fantastical. I guess there's like a big Mandarin like compound, it seems like. And then of course there are these other, action sequences, and it's hard to know if these are like flashbacks, if they're historical, if it is like contemporary, like in the actual world of the MCU as it exists now. But I mean, it's got some style and it's got something new to offer, I think, culturally, aesthetically. And I thought it was good. The music did sound good. So, not one of my most anticipated films by any stretch, but I think for the MCU especially, it looks like something a bit fresh.
Definitely. And we now know that it does exist. So thank you for that. And we can start to build some hype there. But a lot of other trailers as well. I guess we'll hit on the rest of the movies before we switch. We got some TV trailers, but one that I saw in the theaters when I went to go see the Mortal Kombat in IMAX. I did not see Dune, unfortunately, which was devastating.
Just brutal.
Saw the Suicide Squad IMAX trailer for the first time.
Damn.
But The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, another one of these hybrid Warner Brothers, HBO Max movies. Are you a Conjuring fan? I've seen the second one, but I haven't seen the first one, which doesn't make any sense. But then when you hear that it was the summer that Movie Pass was all the rage, and I was just seeing everything that was in theaters, that's why I saw Conjuring 2, and I hadn't seen the first one. So
Conjuring 2, that came out in like 2016, didn't it?
I was an early adopter for Movie Pass.
Good Lord. Well, regardless, I am a fan, or I was a fan. It's hard to say if I still am, because I have not seen either of these films in years. But I was a big fan when I was younger. I mean, I was in high school when the first one came out. So I remember that was a very big, fun, scary movie for everyone to go see. And it was rated R, so it was kind of like a little more intense. But that was definitely, I think, my first ever movie, like horror movie that I would have considered my favorite, like as I was getting more and more into film, was The Conjuring. I mean, I thought would not be up there now, but
I remember being very impressed with the second one. Like I like horror a good bit, but like it wasn't like just jump scares or gore or something, but it was like actually like freaky in the supernatural sense. And this has one of the big things is the child. You've got to have the right possessed child in these movies. and this one has Julian Hilliard, who I know you just rewatched or watched it for the first time recently, which was The Haunting of Hill House. He was young Luke Crane in that, and he was also Billy Maximoff in WandaVision. So this young boy is getting his shot, and he was very good at being scared and terrified in Haunting of Hill House. So I have faith that he will be a good possessed child here, it seems.
Now, it's worth mentioning, though, that this is the first of the Conjuring films that will not be directed by James Wan, who is, he directed the very first Saw. He directed these two. He did the first two Insidious films. So he's got a good track record. I mean, he has the most experience. He has the most goodwill. The director of this was the same guy who directed La Llorona. I guess that came out a year or two ago. 2 years
2019.
And I have not seen that film, but I heard it was just absolutely horrible. So I'm nervous about this.
But he's also the director of the Billie Eilish "Bury a Friend" music video, which is very scary. So
well, goddamn.
Win some, you lose some.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. I do not have high hopes for this. Let me just say that. But I didn't think this was a bad trailer necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's more of like the demonic side of things versus, I guess, all of the possessions were demons. But I thought this sounded interesting, of just like the line in the courtroom scene where he's like, "You swear in and believe in Jesus every day. It's time that we start taking the devil, believing in the devil too, and using him for excuses." So I was like, "Hey, that's kind of a good point. That's a good point there."
Yeah, so
you gotta play it both ways, but
it's a couple months away, I believe. So, or it's in June. I think it's less than 2 months from when we actually get to see it.
But we have some other more fun things than not that the Conjuring isn't fun, but a little lighter, more casual viewing, which is West Side Story and In the Heights. Both had new trailer reveals last night at the Oscars. Which one do you want to talk about first?
I'll take the head on West Side Story, because
let's hear it.
This film. So have you seen the original, or have you seen the musical like in person or anything?
I have seen it when Rebecca starred in it in high school.
Unreal.
But I have not seen the actual old version of the film.
So of course, it's a very renowned film, like one of the best film musicals, I think everyone would say. One of Spielberg's favorites, obviously, which is why I guess he chose to take this on. It won Best Picture. It's from, I want to say 65 maybe. And then, but so everyone loves that musical. So when we heard Spielberg was trying to do this, I was like, why the hell? Because I've seen it once. It was a long time ago. It was years ago. I'm sure if I watched it now, I'd have different feelings. But I mean, it was a pretty enticing, interesting take on Romeo and Juliet. Looks beautiful, the sets, the costumes, all that. So yeah, like Spielberg taking on and doing a remake of something that was already so loved seemed kind of strange. And definitely had me skeptical, but I was glad to be feeling wrong last night after I saw this, because
agreed,
this trailer was beautiful. It looked amazing. Janice Kaminsky's cinematography looks fucking-tastic. Like, looks so crisp. Honestly, at the very beginning, with all the kind of establishing shots of New York, the first thing that came to mind for me was actually If Beale Street Could Talk. With the color grading and everything, it's definitely more real, like I guess like naturalist compared to like the original West Side Story, which is very vibrant, like over the top theatrical. This one looks definitely more like realistic, brought down a little bit, but still has those pops of color, still has the beautiful costumes kind of flowing everywhere, and is set in that same time period. So yeah, I know there's a whole Ansel Elgort part of it, which he was
also a good job not including him in this trailer. Barely had him in there.
Yeah, he's barely in it, which I think, I mean, I expected that. It was definitely the wise thing to do, just because it is a touchy area without a doubt. And you have such a great.
Is there hope just that it's kind of blown over by December? Because they can't do that when the real movie comes out,
I mean, I think that you just have to get. I think, yeah.
At this point, you just got to accept it and move on. But they're not going to advertise it.
I think you have to just play it and not advertise him so much, and then when they go see the movie and he's in it a lot, it's just like, yeah, he's in it a lot. Like, there's really, like, we don't have anything else to really add, or to
you can't Christopher Plummer it and put another face on there.
I don't think there's any chance of that happening, because he isn't. I mean, he's the star, so he's the Romeo to Rachel Zegler's Juliet. So, but she looks great. She sounds great. Got a little bit of her vocals in there, which we all know, she can deliver on. So it's exciting. I mean, I'm stoked for it. Definitely made me. I'm working on a big Oscars piece that I've been developing for what seems like weeks now, which actually has been weeks. So I think this made me want to go back and be like, oh god, I think West Side Story is actually going to be. They're coming for some big ones, or they're at least going to be in contention. So I'm excited. And I was very excited for the other musical that we're going to be talking about. They got new footage yesterday, but I think I might be more excited for this one now. It's very close.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably lean West Side Story. I have familiarity with West Side Story, not as much with In the Heights, other than knowing that it's a Lin-Manuel Miranda production. Yeah. Because as I've mentioned on the podcast before, like, me and musicals, it's like once I see it, I will listen to the music all the time and like have my phase for it. But I'm not one of the people who like, oh, this new musical came out, I haven't ever seen it, but I'm gonna listen to the soundtrack anyway. So like after I saw Hamilton on Disney Plus, I listened to that all the time. After I saw Waitress on Broadway, I listened to that. So like that's just how I approach these things. So I haven't ever listened to In the Heights, but the movie will definitely change that. I feel like Anthony Ramos looks very good and sounds very good. The colors opposite of what you said with West Side Story. This is very much the neon, the bright, the colorful palette that they're going for here. But I am excited to see this one on the big screen. It's going to be on HBO Max as well, but I'm going for the full effect here.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I don't need to see anything else from In the Heights. Like I'm sold on it. But I needed to see something from West Side Story to get me excited.
Right. I feel like this could be, I guess neither of these are, unless they both, as musicals tend to do, I guess they usually try and like come up with a new song to force their way into the Oscars category, right? So I was going to say this would be a big, I guess they could have like costume design and production design, like contention here. Maybe even Best Picture for West Side Story with Spielberg behind it. But
Spielberg director,
But these should be facing off, I would imagine, in next award season.
Yeah, Golden Globes, musical, comedy category. Yeah,
definitely. Well, on the TV front, a couple. I know you haven't seen either of these, so we won't spend too much time on it.
Yeah, go crazy.
But first off, the big breaking news: Ted Lasso season 2, July 23rd. Out of nowhere, they just hit us with this. Johnny's not a Ted head yet, but it's coming. I promise. Once he sits down, he will fall in love.
I'm probably gonna try to get caught up before this new season, so I can watch it.
Right, but this was kind of a surprise during the Apple event where they announced like their new Macs and phones and everything, that they were talking about Apple TV and just whipped this out. We knew they were in production for season 2 and that they also had renewed it for a season 3. But I had no idea that this was going to be so soon. July 23rd. That's right around the corner, honestly. That's less than a year since the first season was August 2020. So they're really just cranking this out like Mandalorian style, I feel like. But super exciting. The crew is back together. They're getting ready for the battle ahead. I'm trying to speak vaguely because I don't want to give anything away for Johnny. So we'll end it at that. But super exciting to have them coming back soon. And then on the flip side, instead of a quick turnaround, this is after 4 years, Master of None is coming back on Netflix for season 3. It's subtitled Moments in Love. This is the Aziz Ansari TV show on Netflix that probably, like, obviously Stranger Things has like the bigger connection as far as like pop culture and relevance and everything. And then I'm also biased to Mindhunter, but this one is like very comforting. Master of None is so good and emotional that it's always been one of my favorite. I'd say those are the big 3 for me as far as Netflix originals go. But we're coming back. It's different this time. Instead of Aziz front and center, he is going behind the lens. He wrote and directed these along with Lena Waithe, who will be starring the new season. Instead of it being him, Aziz front and center, like I said, Denise, that's Lena Waithe's character, and her partner Alicia will be at the center, and it's really diving into their relationship and the different struggles that they face. So interesting. Like, Denise was a great character. The Thanksgiving episode of, I think it was season 2, is like one of the very best all time of this show. But I'll be interested to see how they go making the full season about them. I love the first 2 seasons were so great, and that Aziz is like very charming and captivating as that character. So to wait 4 years and have it come back and not be the same thing, I still have faith that it'll be very good, but it's obviously going to be super different.
Right. Yeah. Again, this is one where I don't really have interest in watching it, honestly. I mean, at least watching this upcoming season. You have said very good things about the first couple, so I would like to check those out.
They're the first 2 seasons I would recommend at least watching, because as Josh said as well, that it's got the Josh Martin stamp of approval.
That's all you need to know.
They're very cinematic, and like
okay,
this new season is shot on film. So it's not like a traditional like Netflix half-hour sitcom.
Yeah.
You know, like
okay, that's definitely sounds more appealing. So.
It's very like it's much more like artsy versus mainstream.
So it almost sounds like more like an HBO series to me.
Yeah, I could see that. I think it would fit in with their catalog.
Yeah. But couple last quick hits here for TV news before we jump into the Mortal Kombat review. Hulu is developing on the other side of streaming things a How I Met Your Mother spinoff starring Hilary Duff, who of course was famously given the shaft by Disney for the what the hell's name? What the hell's
Lizzie
the name?
McGuire.
Yeah, Lizzie McGuire show. That was supposed to be Disney Plus. Apparently, she wanted it to be more adult oriented, and they were like, "Fuck no," for whatever reason.
Well, it sounds to me like. Well, first of all, can you guess what the How I Met Your Mother spinoff is titled? It's really creative. It's really
How
really
I Met
wild.
Your Dad.
Fun fact: that's actually what the original spinoff with Greta Gerwig was going to be. How I Met Your Dad. How dumb is that? This is How I Met Your Father. But I'm curious because do you think that they were literally like, okay, you want Lizzie McGuire to be adult? Sorry, too bad, but we'll let you do How I Met Your Father, and you can like, because this is gonna be the whole Lizzie McGuire thing was that she wanted it to be like about like sex and relationships and like being single and real, like, you know, like Lizzie McGuire taking Plan B or something like.
Right.
But that's very much going to be, if it's similar to How I Met Your Mother, like this is a young single person trying to find their relationship. Like I feel like that's basically what this show is going to be. So that seems to be like somewhat of a compromise. They're like, okay, it's not going to be Hillary, or it's not going to be Lizzie McGuire, but we'll let you take a big existing IP that we have and like use that. So I was a big fan of the How I Met Your Mother show. I don't know if you've watched it, but like that was not
seen a single episode.
That was one that like my family watched like growing up. Like it started in 2005, so I was watching it at like
Christ.
9 years old. Like
so old.
But so I watched like all 9 seasons of that like as it was airing on TV, and then I'd rewatched it with Rebecca. So
wow.
I don't know. We'll see. It's been like I loved it while I was watching it and rewatching it. And I still like consider it a favorite, but it has not aged necessarily very well. Like it feels very much a product, not in like bad, like not like they say the N-word or something, but just like
oh god,
it feels very much like the episodes from the first season feel very 2005 in the same way that like
it looks
the same way that like Friends, you know, Friends feels very much a product of the 90s versus like The Office. Like I know people hate
The
on
Office really does feel timeless, and I can't really explain why.
Right, people hate on it for it being like
old,
the favorite. But... Yeah, that's one where it's like this could be said at any time period, or like it's fine to watch now in 2020 or 2021, even though it came out that again also in like 2005. So strong agree.
So. I mean, are you okay? Last thing on this, are you interested in this? Are you excited to watch it? Are you going to watch?
I'll definitely watch it. It's going to be, I think it'll be interesting. I feel like that's something that they would try to address here, of like making it more updated, and also because it's going to be on Hulu. It's going to be like, I think they said 10 episode season. So it's like back in 2000, like How I Met Your Mother is like 9 seasons, 22 episode seasons, like versus what this is going to be. Just like TV is so different now than when How I Met Your Mother was in its prime. So I think it'll be interesting to see how they adapt that to a modern take.
Yeah, fair play. And then we have on the Disney Plus side of things over there, we were talking about all the upcoming MCU shows, and Secret Invasion is one of them, and is going to be not a 2021 release, but supposedly will be coming out next year. We already knew Samuel L. Jackson, of course, was going to be returning as Nick Fury, kind of starring in this one. And then Ben Mendelsohn will be returning as the Skrull I can't remember the name of his character. Does it start with a T or something?
Talos.
That's right. So he'll be back in the makeup chair. But we have a couple others joining the cast, and they come in the form of Oscar winner Olivia Colman and Game of Thrones alum Emilia Clarke, Daenerys herself. So 2 big British names that'll be over there when they start filming in London, which I believe is set for this summer. What do you think? This was a back-to-back double whammy.
Right. This is huge. I mean, obviously Olivia Colman is more of the press. I guess, I don't know. Emilia Clarke has had tremendous success with Game of Thrones, but not as much outside of that. I mean, we had her in Solo. We had her in what was the Christmas movie? Last Christmas.
Last Christmas, yeah.
Olivia Colman, obviously more prestigious as an actress, I guess.
Yeah, not
but both huge gets for Kevin Feige to just get in his bag as he's building out the MCU continuously.
Yeah.
So this, I don't know. I love Emilia Clarke. I loved Dany as a character until the last season. I would justice for I want to see her be able to shine and continue to be great, because I think she's very talented. And then Olivia Colman, obviously super talented, and she's been super funny in things like The Favorite or in Fleabag, but also obviously has the dramatic chops as well. So like that could really elevate this show.
He was just up for an Oscar last night. So
exactly. I knew that, but I haven't seen The Father, so I didn't want to. I know I said I would do that last week, but I did not. So shame on me.
Yeah, shame on you. But yeah, no, I mean, Olivia Colman was the first bit of news that came, and I was super excited about that. Even though we don't really know what capacity she's going to be in. She did have a quote from a while back where she was talking about how cool she thought it would be to be like a bad guy in one of these superhero movies, one of the Marvel movies. So maybe they took her up on that. She'll be, an antagonist. Who knows? But then we also have Emilia Clarke, who I feel like could really go either way, which is kind of how it was in the Solo movie. That I have not.
I hope her character is better than Kira in Solo.
Yeah. But yeah, I Secret Invasion, again, not one of the shows or Marvel projects I'm like most excited about, looking forward to, but they definitely have more of my attention with this one now. And then finally, speaking of Daenerys, speaking of Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, the huge first official spinoff show coming after Game of Thrones, is officially starting production, and it will be releasing its first season next year. Great cast. I know they got Matt Smith in there. I know they got Olivia Cook, among others. So I'm excited. It's very upsetting memories of season 8 and how Game of Thrones ended, and I get that there's a lot of skepticism, but as hurt as I was by that ending and as mad as it was, all that, I'm not skeptical at all about this. I'm super excited. I think that if anything, this is going to be cleansing the palate, getting rid of all the bad memories of Game of Thrones, getting people excited for a big weekly, fantasy show again. And that's all I'm about. And they're leaning into the Targaryens. They're leaning into the dynasty. New characters,
which is fun because they were literally like, that was their thing where they're like, oh, it's too expensive to make these dragons. It's like during Game of Thrones, they use that as an excuse, and now they're like, whole show about dragons.
Right. So exactly. So it's going to be a new time period, new characters. So you're not going to have any hangover from the main series, and Weiss and Benioff are far away, not involved anymore whatsoever. The greatest Game of Thrones director, he's running the show, and then of course this is all being adapted directly from George R.R. Martin's own writing. So they're not making it up, really. It's pretty solid as far as the plotting and all that goes. So I think this is just going to be a home run. I mean, I get that people are skeptical, but I can't wait to see what they do with this.
Right. Like you said, Miguel Sapochnik is the director, who is the one behind like Battle of the Bastards and the Battle of Winterfell and all of the biggest, most action-packed episodes. But yeah, I mean, all of the people who were like, oh my God, they ruined the last season. I'm never watching Game of Thrones again. I don't care. Like week 2, they're gonna be like, holy shit, this is good. Like where I was on this from day one. Like, no, we remembered that you bailed on the franchise. Like that's always been one of my complaints of just like fandom in general, of like, if you're able to say that your final 3 episodes of season 8 or whatever, however far you want to go back, ruined like at least 6 fantastic seasons of television, of like the best television ever. Like, you're an idiot. Like that's so invalid. So I am like you. I'm super excited for this. I just can't wait. The Targaryen side of things, like I just said, love Dany. I know she's not in this, but that whole dynasty and the world is going to be super fun to explore, and to like you said, there's writing to base this off of. Nobody's free balling out here, so we're gonna make it work. I'm excited for it.
There. Great, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so exciting. We didn't get any new images or like people in costume or any sets or anything, but hopefully we'll get some of that maybe in the next few months or something. But moving on finally to our big review for the week, Mortal Kombat.
First learned about this 7 years ago on a mission in Brazil to capture a wanted fugitive. When we got there, it tore through our unit in seconds. The target had superhuman abilities. It had the same marking you do, Cole.
It's a birthmark.
What do you mean?
He was born with it.
It's not a birthmark, Cole. It means you've been chosen.
Throughout history, different cultures all over the world reference a great tournament of champions. That dragon marking? I think it's an invitation to fight for something known. As Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat in general, before we really get into this, I don't have a ton of exposure to it. I've never seen the original films, the live action ones. I've never played the games like adamantly. I played maybe one of them a long time ago, and it might have even been the DC versus Mortal Kombat one, which was kind of weird and fun. But outside of that, I mean, I just know a few of the character names. I don't know much about the lore, and I'd seen the trailer for this, of course, which I liked a lot, but I went into this relatively blind, I think, outside of that.
Yeah, I am just like you. I think maybe at Fuddruckers as a child, when I got some quarters from my dad, I got to go over and play the Mortal Kombat game, where I was just twiddling the joystick and mashing some buttons. So that's the extent of my that might have even been Street Fighter. I don't even know. I'm not a true Mortal Kombat fan.
Well, shit. Yeah,
so
man. Street Fighter, who knows?
So that's the extent of my my knowledge here of the fan base and the lore. So I knew coming into this movie that it was going to be extremely bloody, extremely violent, crazy stunts, and that was about it. So
yeah,
that if that's all I went into this, then it was a success, because it definitely delivered on that part. But more on the rest later.
All right, that's promising. Mortal Kombat 2021 stars Louis Tan. Definitely gonna butcher some of these names. Jessica
McNamee, maybe. I don't know.
McNamee. I think she's Australian. Josh Lawson, who is definitely Australian. Joe Taslim and Mikad Brooks.
Not too bad.
Not too bad. Rotten Tomatoes, Zach, 55% critic score. Definitely more in line with you in your feelings about the film. 87% audience score, though, which, again, these Warner Brothers films have been killing it, it must be said, as far as the reception with audiences. I mean, even Tom and Jerry, which was horrible.
Don't bring that up. We don't say that
horrible. And Godzilla vs. Kong more recently, those they've all been doing well.
Interesting to note, really quick, tomato meter, like you said, 55% all critics, When you go top critics, it drops it down to 39.
Brutal. Fatality. My score on Letterboxd, I gave it a soft 3.5 out of 5. I liked it. So I'd say maybe a 65 out of 100. Zach, what'd you give it?
I was a 2-star out of 5. This was 41 out of 100 for me. Yeah, just like I said, the whole movie itself, beyond any sort of slicing and dicing that the characters do, was just lost on me. Not in the sense of like I didn't understand what was happening.
Zach cannot possibly comprehend or keep up with everything that this very high concept.
Bad guy smash. Too confusing.
High concept.
No, but yeah, I mean, first of all, I will say, speaking of people who can't keep up, I was in an IMAX theater at South Point to see this movie. Obviously one buffer seat to my right and to my left, and then there was a family of maybe like mom and dad and like a middle-aged child on my right, and then like
middle-aged child. Was he 40?
No, middle-aged, like 12-year-old maybe. Like, but then behind them, I guess their family split up onto 2 rows. So behind them was like another maybe like early teen brother, and then like I gotta say, I didn't see him, but I heard the voice, maybe like 7-8-year-old. Literally, the movie starts and it's in a mixture of like Japanese and Chinese, and the subtitles pop up, and the kid goes, "Is it all like this?" and so like the brother behind me had to read the everything to him for the beginning, and he was not whispering. And
that's funny.
And then literally like
not whispering.
anything that would happen. Luckily this was only for like the beginning, that like the first like little intro when it's like the flashback. And literally the dude shows, like they show up and then they like hide the baby, and then he goes, "What happened to the baby?" And then he like, "Oh, was that this person? Who killed that? Like, what was?" Like literally so many questions, and I'm like, dude, just watch the movie. It was devastating. I was like, like I said, thank God it did not continue the whole time, or else I might have had to leave.
You would have had to. Hey, I'd been like, shut that.
I would have had to fatality him.
But the plot, break it down real quick. We got a beautiful synopsis here. Let me get my very serious Mortal Kombat voice going. MMA fighter Cole Young is unaware of his heritage, or why Outworld's Emperor Shang Tsung has sent his best warrior, Sub-Zero, to an otherworldly cryomancer to hunt Cole down. Fearing for his family's safety, Cole goes in search of Sonya Blade at the direction of Jax, a special forces major who bears the same strange dragon marking Cole was born with. Soon, he finds himself at the temple of Lord Raiden, an elder god and the protector of Earthrealm, who grants sanctuary to those who bear the mark. Here, Cole trains with experienced warriors Liu Kang, Kung Lao, and rogue mercenary Kano as he prepares to stand with Earth's greatest champions against the enemies of Outworld in a high-stakes battle for the universe. But will Cole be pushed hard enough to unlock his arcana, the immense power from within his soul, in time to save not only his family, but to stop Outworld once and for all? Question mark.
Who knows?
We knows now.
We do know, but did we want to know? Was this a good movie? We've kind of hinted at just the general thoughts here. So go ahead, break it down for me. What beyond, I guess, what you've already said? How did you feel about this movie?
Okay, I liked it. I enjoyed it. Now let's get the negatives out of the way up top. How about that?
Okay. Let's do it.
Because I will say, getting into this film, the opening scene that you mentioned, where the kid needed all the description, was a kind of a very cool, like low key, like flashback. I think it said 1600s Japan, and that's where they established this basically rivalry between Sub-Zero and Scorpion. And so that sets the tone, and then we're immediately thrown into the present, which is where we meet Cole Young, which is Louis Tan's character, who's basically, he's like a faceless, he's like a nobody. He used to be, I guess he used to be something of somebody because he was a good fighter, he was a better fighter, and now he's just kind of struggling along, trying to get these paychecks from fighting on late notice, getting his ass beat, losing. And so I'd say maybe the first, I don't know when it was really that this movie really, honestly, Kano made such a huge difference for me in this movie as far as like my level of interest and enjoyment. So really it took like maybe 20-25 minutes for Kano to show up. And then it was really once they got to Lord Raiden's temple, and then the plot was like steadily moving along, and they were getting more into training, more action sequences. Then I was like, okay, I'm enjoying this. Like I can roll with this. There's enough action here that I think is working, and I think the characters' interactions are like interesting enough. But up until that, when it was introducing Cole, it was introducing Jax, Sonya. I was like,
R.I.P. Jax. I thought he was down for the count early on.
Fucking dumb. He got demolished by Scorpion. I mean, he got his arm shattered off, which we all see in the Red Band trailer. But then he gets thrown, like dropped down, like several stories, like face down on cement. He's like bleeding everywhere, like it's just a pool of blood. And he gets rescued. But yeah, no. So that first 25, 30 minutes, I was like, God, I was like, this is fucking bad. Like, this is really not good. Like, if this whole movie's like this is not, like, I've made a mistake. And I went into the movie, I was skeptical. I was definitely expecting it to not be good. I even considered just staying at home and watching it on HBO Max, throwing it on, getting it over with just for the review. But I was like, hey, I got the AMC stubs. It's opening weekend. I can go see it IMAX. Maybe it'll be a fun time. And it was. It ended up being a really fun time. I said this on Twitter, but the audience, it was a sold out crowd. The entire theater was packed. The parking lot was packed. Everyone was high energy. A lot of people I could overhear saying it was like their first movie back. The energy had the feeling of a first movie back. It was like opening night of like some like sports team. And as soon as it was a bit slow getting out the gate. I think everyone else was also feeling kind of skeptical. Like, I don't know about this Cole Young guy. I don't know about how they're setting up the characters, all that kind of stuff. But once Kano shows up and he's dropping one-liners and he's so fucking fun, and he feels like someone like out of a Deadpool movie.
I felt like he was very much like he could have been Captain Boomerang in Suicide Squad.
Yeah, that's exactly what Captain Boomerang in Suicide Squad 2016 should have been.
Exactly.
Like they should have gotten this guy to play him. I'm sure Jai Courtney will be perfectly fine in James Gunn's version, but yeah, the lewd, crude humor, the foul mouth, like misogynist, racist, it fit. It was perfectly fit for the character. He was an asshole. He was basically a villain that just had this tenuous alliance with some of the more heroic characters. And then once we got some more action, some more crazy violence, I mean, everyone was into it. I mean, I was genuinely laughing at some of the jokes and some of the one-liners, especially from Kano. I remember, I think again, once Kano showed up, it really got better, but there's one line that's kind of like a throwaway, like dumb line, but it made me laugh out loud. And it's when he gets to Louis Tan's character, Cole Young. Cole shows up at Sonya Blade's place. And she has like this big wall full of evidence, like trying to find more, like figure out what Mortal Kombat is, figure out what the birthmark, quote unquote, is, and what it all means. And he says something like, she says, "Oh, it all leads to Mortal Kombat," or something like that. And then Cole's like,
"Did you come up with that?
You just made that up. Like look at this. It's not even written like right or something like that." I
didn't spell it right.
You didn't spell it right. I was like, okay, that's actually like kind of funny. Like I actually laughed out loud at that. And then like moments later is when Kano really is introduced and becomes like a key player in the film. And from there, I felt more comfortable with it. I was laughing, like I said, a lot. It was a lot funnier than I expected. I really was just looking forward to the action and the violence and all that crazy stuff that you would expect, the fatalities and whatnot. But the characters were funny enough. I thought that their chemistry was good enough. Their back and forth. It felt like, reminiscent of almost like an Avengers movie, especially the first one where they're all kind of meeting up and trying to work together and like figuring out who's who and what each character has to offer, things like that. But yeah, and it's by no means a great movie. I think it's barely a good movie, but the level of enjoyment I got out of it, I think what they do with some of the big characters that people love and kind of where they leave it at and what they establish for a potential sequel, I thought it got the job done. I thought it was a suitable. I mean, Mortal Kombat, again, it is a simple fighting game, and I know that there are bigger, more complex stories in that universe with that lore and the games over the years. But I thought for a first movie, the tone felt right. And I thought they did right by many of the characters, most of them. I thought it got the job. It was an entertaining, fun night out at the movies, and it was a good experience, and everyone was into it, and that was it. I mean, if I had watched it at home, I don't think I would have enjoyed it nearly as much, and maybe my score would be different. But for now, I'm not racing back to go see it again. But I am definitely open to the idea of a sequel. If they were to do one, I'd be looking forward to it, and I would check it out. So I think that kind of puts it over the edge for me as far as like the overall quality, like my feelings about it.
Yeah, I would imagine that they are going to be doing multiple sequels. They definitely tried to set up for it with what's his name, Cole. I don't even know the person. Again, I don't know the lore, but the poster that it shows at the end of like the fighter
yeah,
that
Johnny
he has
Cage.
to go recruit.
Yeah,
Johnny Cage. Sounds like a porn star.
Well, yeah, he's like a low class, like a B, C, D movie, like actor, like kind of like action hero.
But yeah, I guess my theater didn't have the same energy. Again, I saw it in IMAX, so beyond the child behind me asking so many questions, nobody else had any great energy to make the experience better like you did. Again, the action was awesome, whether it was seeing someone get sliced open with their own blood frozen together, or just like it was you mentioned Deadpool. I think that's a good comparison of like the extreme gore and just like not holding anything back. Like we're really going for it. And they went for it. They did it. And it was enjoyable to see all that. But I didn't care about Cole. I didn't care about I'm with you on Kano. When he showed up, brought the energy. He was very funny. And I could see, like I said, I could see him in Suicide Squad and Deadpool and any sort of foul-mouthed movie. But I was glad to see Jax make it back with his arms. When the dude
I like
with the
his
hat,
development with that as well. Like it wasn't an automatic thing. Like, okay, you're back, man. You got your arms.
You're super cool strength with robot arm. Like no, he had to work for it. But the dude with the hat, was that Kung Lao, or was that when he sliced that woman in half with the rotating hat? That was wild.
People lost their minds in that. And then of course he says
most pleasant or whatever. What is it? I don't even know.
No, he didn't say fatality. He said a flawless victory. Yeah.
Most pleasant.
Flawless victory after that. Yeah, that was awesome.
But yeah, I mean that beyond all that though, like I did not care one bit about any of this that was going on. And I know I'm always the one who's like, turn your brain off movie, which this definitely was, but like,
yeah, Zach, where are you at now, bro? You're kind of
no, I'm
rolling that back.
And I'm not. This was like very much that, but I mean, I feel like the fact that fans of the video games and the lore and stuff are loving it, like that means it did a good job. That's not me. It's not for me. Like they very much catered to that audience, and it sounds like it was a huge success with them. And I was left by the wayside, which I'm totally fine with. I did not go into this knowing that I did not go in and say, okay, I need to go read the Wikipedia page. I need to watch the old movie. I just didn't do it. So I'm not upset about that. It's totally fine by me. I'm glad that the people who were super excited for this got what they wanted. But I'm probably going to be sitting out Mortal Kombat 2 through 5.
Oh no. But yeah, I mean, on the flip side of that, as someone who also didn't know anything about this universe really or any of the characters, I did like it. I thought it did actually somehow work for me, even with, maybe it was because I had some tempered expectations, wasn't expecting anything great or even good, or even mediocre. I was expecting the worst, and it was not. It didn't feel like it was the worst whatsoever. It could have been a lot worse. I thought the effects were pretty good. I thought, once again, they had a good amount of humor in there. And there were genuinely parts where I was like kind of on the edge of my seat, like, oh shit, like what the hell is gonna happen? Kung Lao, we're in spoilers, of course. Kung Lao gets fucking killed by Shang Tsung, gets his soul sucked, and that was kind of a shocker. Of course, Mortal Kombat has a huge roster of characters to pull from, I assume. So any sequel will, of course, bring in Johnny Cage and probably some others. But yeah, of course, I've said that I liked it overall, and I would recommend it and give it a look. But there were definitely some downsides to it. Namely, I think it was just a little too rushed. I think people prior to this were like, "Oh my god, the runtime is so short. Like it's not even 2 hours. Like, oh, how are we possibly gonna get all this accomplished?" And I'm thinking, calm down. It's a fucking Mortal Kombat like movie. It's not that serious. And it isn't, but I think they could have paid maybe 10 to 15 minutes extra time just for these characters and kind of building them up even a little bit more. Jax, for example, when he shows up and talks to Cole Young, we don't get a lot of Jax before that. It's
in
like
the car.
He's recruiting Cole. He's giving, he's dumping exposition. He's connecting Cole to Sonya. Great. So he kind of works as that intermediary. But I would have liked to see some more of Jax prior to that, or have him built up a little bit more. Even Cole, I think, because he is such a blank slate and not a terribly interesting or original character, give him a little bit of extra. We have, of course, his daughter and his wife, and his daughter and his wife are like paper thin. Like they're not even characters.
Yeah, exactly.
But they have them established a little bit, and they have like this very short scene at the beginning with them, and how his daughter's in the corner during the fight and all that. And I wish we would have gotten even more, 5-10 minutes at the front end of that to just build those characters up a little bit more, so that when they're kind of in danger towards the end, you feel a little bit more involved, like the stakes are a little bit higher. But yeah, I mean, that would be one thing I'd say. And then on top of that, I think the action, while I thought it was pretty good and mostly like passable, they could definitely improve in some areas, especially the editing. Like I think the action itself, whatever they filmed, was probably good, but I think they just over edited it in some places. So you don't get to see the strikes as much. You don't get to see the impact and the aftermath as much. So some wider shots, some wider lens shots, some less choppy editing would definitely benefit in the future, because I know some of these actors are very well versed in martial arts and have great training, do their own stunts and stuff, so you don't need to like cheat it or anything, outside of maybe a couple of the key actors. But yeah, and whether that means getting a new director for the sequel, or getting a new writer, getting a different stunt coordinator, cinematographer, what have you, I think there's plenty of constructive criticism you could take from this and actually build it into making the sequel something even better. I mean, imagine if they went out and got David Leitch to direct the sequel, or if they got Chad Stileski to come out and do the sequel. Someone like that, someone just a big gun for hire in the action genre. I think people would go absolutely nuts, and I think it would be a pretty damn good or great action movie. So we'll see what happens, but again, a pleasant surprise. I'm shocked that I liked it. I'm shocked that I enjoyed it as much as I did, and I would definitely be down to see a sequel. And I'm getting flashbacks to Sonic the Hedgehog last year, where like I went into it with no expectations.
This is
like
the rare W for Johnny.
It's the dumb video game movie, and I walk out of it. I laughed a lot. I had some fun. I cared about what was going on to an extent, and I want to see a sequel. And we're getting a sequel to Sonic, and that did well. And hopefully the next one will be good. And that's pretty much how I feel about this one. So, hey, what can you say?
Well, I'm glad that you and so many others have enjoyed this. So, something that we did not necessarily all enjoy. Let's move on. The Oscars. The
Yeah.
2021, the 93rd Oscars last night. They happened. They were a thing. Before we get into all of the intricacies of who won what, I want to know, this was obviously the pandemic Oscars. It was done differently. They still did it in person, but they were trying to figure out the way to make this special. And the answer came in the form of, let's make it like a movie, not like a traditional television broadcast. What were your thoughts on the production of it all? I'm not going to lie. I missed the first 30 minutes or so probably. So I did not see what was supposedly the best part of it as far as like the actual show itself went.
Yeah. Yeah, this shit was crazy, honestly. I don't know what to say other than, I mean, it was the worst Oscars I can remember watching. I mean, of course they made a lot of changes for the pandemic to accommodate different, capacity restrictions and less guests and all that, different locations, different types of sets. But on top of that, they made plenty of decisions that I don't think necessarily had anything to do with the pandemic or COVID protocols. Chief among them, Best Director and Best Picture were not last. They were like in the middle of the show, or at least Best Picture was not the very last award. It was it was like third to last. And yeah, it was a shit show. It was just a mess. Producers and the director, Steven Soderbergh, I mean, they dropped the ball big time. They didn't have clips for the acting categories. The only clips that they had for were the feature category. So documentary, animated, and then Best Picture. But I mean, I don't know. It was missing a lot for me. And then the ending, of course, I mean, it was just the last 30 minutes was just pure pandemonium. And of course, mainly in the form of Best Actor being last. And I guess they were assuming or hoping Chadwick Boseman was going to win, which was not at all.
Did they not know? Like, I feel
like
they
don't know. They don't know.
I feel like you should have known.
Nobody knows until they open it up.
Wild.
Yeah, the people responsible for the envelopes and actually tabulating the results, though they're a separate entity and they're the only ones that know. So, yeah, it's nuts.
They're probably sitting on the sidelines going, "Oh my god, what do they think they're doing here?"
Yeah. They're like, "Hey, that shit ain't got nothing to do with us." But yeah. Which is funny because the La La Land Moonlight fiasco was kind of on them for the way that they did up the envelopes and whatnot. But yeah, this is I mean, the real bummer of it all is that while the show was horrible and bad and it has a horrible reception, there was not really, maybe a couple of awards that I wasn't happy with who won, but everything else I thought was pretty much
agreed,
great, and excellent. Even I know Best Actor was very hotly contested. I don't think anyone was really even coming after Anthony Hopkins, which I was happy to see. But I wanted him to win. I mean, I was fine with him winning.
The only thing that makes it like negative is the fact that they rearranged the show to have it end with Chadwick, and then it wasn't Chadwick. Like if they had done it like normal, this would not be an ordeal whatsoever. If they had done Best Actor, Anthony Hopkins wins, he's not there. Okay, then it's Best Actress, then Frances McDormand wins, she gives a speech, and then it's Best Pick. Like,
and you end with
this is entirely on them. Like
it's 100% on them. They made so many unforced errors with this. It's mind-boggling, really. I mean,
it shows in the numbers. I want to mention that 9.85 million viewers tuned in on average for Sunday evening, which is a record low, down 58.3% less than last year, a 13.75 million viewer drop off. So last year was like oh my god, we're coming back, it's a resurgence, Parasite, and now it's like, oh my, like obviously the pandemic plays a part in that. People didn't see as many movies, they didn't know as many of these, and they didn't necessarily like want to tune in. But I'm sure that the production, if they did tune in, they probably turned the channel pretty quickly.
Right. I mean, yeah, that's because it not only was it a mess, but it felt like, I understand it being more toned down, more low key, like more low energy, but it didn't have the same spectacle that a regular Oscars would have. Like,
Wait, you
didn't
mean
have,
you don't like Questlove playing pop music instead of hearing the score of a movie when it wins?
oh God, no disrespect to Questlove, but damn, yeah, it was just small things like that. You don't get to see the clips for the actors or any of the categories. There
Wait,
were
you
no
wanted to see
clips.
clips at a show about movies,
You didn't
about
see the
visuals?
acting. You didn't get to see the cinematography. You didn't get to see the costumes, the makeup. I said this on Twitter. If you had only seen maybe a handful of these, if you're just a casual viewer, like, you know, my brother or my dad or something, or one of my friends, like, you're not gonna have a fucking idea what these people are talking about or what they're referring to. Like, when they're naming the nominees, or they're talking about, you know, the nominees, or when they go up on stage and they're kind of like discussing their work and all that, like, you have no reference point. I mean, even someone like myself who is very, I mean, 99% of people are not going to be as in tune with this shit as I am, just because people don't care in general. But like, I've seen almost all the films, like I know the nominees pretty well. And even I was like, well, okay, it'd be nice to have some supplementary material here to like really keep everything in tune and like let people
I
know
mean, just
what
think
we're
about last year when we
talking
were
about.
like all year saying, "Oh my God, if the Rick Dalton trailer scene isn't played for Leo at the Oscars," like there was
Right.
none of that. And then also another thing that they typically do is like throughout the night they introduce the Best Picture nominees. You know, it's not just like wait
Yeah.
until the very end, and that's something that they didn't do as well. But I know you mentioned it as far as winners, not too many that were surprising or upsetting. I mean, obviously the biggest surprise is Hopkins over Boseman, and like you said, not upset about that. You wanted that.
Yeah.
Frances McDormand over Carey Mulligan for Best Actress, also somewhat of a surprise. That whole category was very up in the air. The statistical favorite was Carey Mulligan, but again, not upset that Frances McDormand won her third career Best Actor or Actress Oscar. Like nobody's going to be upset about that.
Which is
and
nuts.
then not surprises in either of these, but very pleased with Yoon Yu Jung for Minari getting supporting actress, and then our King Daniel Kaluuya for supporting actor.
Sir.
Like the only one that made me upset just because I hated the movie was Mank winning cinematography over literally anything else. I know you're big on Sean Bobbitt and Judas, but I feel like Nomadland was the favorite there.
Yeah, definitely.
But other than that, I mean, I really don't have much to say about the specifics of the awards and who won and whatnot, because the biggest takeaway here was just about the whole like shit show of the show itself.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's really what it is, isn't it? And I hope, you know, I like the Oscars, and I get all the trepidation, I get all the criticism. I hate the Academy. The Academy is run by a bunch of idiots. And they've shown that in spades this year. There's no denying that. Across the board. But I still love that we get like this fun special occasion where we can just recognize some of our favorite films from the past year, and we get to see, you know, hopefully you get to see some clips and you get to hear some of the music, and you get to see some performances and everyone dressed up, and it's like this big fun kind of gaudy thing. Which is fine. I mean, it's the film industry. I mean, what else do you expect? But yeah, it just didn't have the same feel to it. I mean, the unpredictability of it was still kind of there, similar to last year with Parasite, you know, doing so well. But it didn't have. It felt a little. I felt icky when it was over, and that's not how I want to feel. Like the Oscars last year, the ending felt so fantastic. It was like, oh my god, Parasite! Like, oh my god, everyone was going crazy, and it was exciting, but. This year, still a lot of excitement. I was still happy with the winners, but overall, the ceremony itself and the takeaway, yeah, I'm looking forward to next year. I'm hoping it's a lot better than this.
And for those looking to get a jump on next year, like Johnny mentioned, it'll be coming to the site soon, but the way too early Oscar predictions for next year, he's breaking it all down. Tons of movies, tons of options. So that'll be up on the site soon.
Yes, sir.
But other than that,
but it's happening.
It's killing it. He's been working. That's why he started it now, so it'll be ready by next Oscar season.
Get my soul sucked.
But that is our episode. Thank you all for listening. We really appreciate it. We stuck with us for an hour and a half, almost 2 hours today. So we really appreciate you tuning in. I guess this is 2 hours now. Math is hard.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you so much to everyone for supporting and listening. We couldn't do it without you, and it certainly keeps us going. So thank you. Follow us on Twitter. We have some giveaways going on, Blu-rays, all that good stuff. Instagram, like us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube. We post all the podcast episodes there in their entirety, and you can find those accounts at Inside Film Room.
Yes, like Johnny said, Judas and the Black Messiah Blu-ray giveaway, as well as The Little Things. So 2 HBO Max Warner Brothers movies that if you didn't catch them in theaters, you didn't catch them on HBO Max, you can catch them for free if you win our raffle. All you have to do is, like Johnny said, follow us on Twitter at Inside Film Room and give us a retweet. And while you're in the generous spirit, subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, Google, Amazon, YouTube. We are everywhere. And come back next week. Mitchell's versus the Machines animated movie on Netflix hits the streamer April 30th. We'll be breaking it all down, and we'll see you then.